talked to Carrie. One of the machines wasn't working. So it
Everybody votes by mail in those states in Oregon and Washington. And what's essential to them? Because to us, the best advice is personal. Hey, Jay. Hey.
My typing skills to work, though. I had to type in the whole address.
I didn't. I just typed in the last digits.
How did you do that?
I just went to Zoom. Your meetings, a web thing, and I just clicked on meetings, and then the meeting thing come on that says you want to host one, you want to join. Well, I just pick join, and then it says put your number in there and wait, and blah blah blah, and there I am.
So you only put in the number part?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to, I guess it just says Zoom. I've kept it ever since I started this thing. It says Zoom, and it brings up like 4 or 5 different subjects, and one of them is meetings. I hit that, then it goes into a bar across where it says, oh, time to eat.
Time to get going is what it actually is. We're going to call this to order at 6:31. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I guess. Carrie, are you on here? Okay, we're gonna have to take a moment here while we wait for Carrie to come back on, or to come on. James, could you give her a call, please?
Just having some trouble logging in, but you should be with us shortly.
I know that feeling.
So we'll give her a couple seconds here.
No, last I seen she looked like she was heading up your way. She usually sits in her office.
Well, we can't get going without her, so.
Maybe it was her that was ringing the doorbell out front.
Oh, she's in the building. I've seen her walk by a couple times, but.
She's trying to do so many things at one time. She's trying to print the list for tomorrow's election also during this time, too. Can't do it during the day.
James, we may have to bring her within earshot to get things going if she's not going to be in the next minute or two.
The frustrating part is she'll probably all set to go and all of a sudden she loses connection.
Yeah, that's the bad part about this.
Mayor, I'd suggest you call roll call and then just begin.
All right, that wouldn't make it, since we're not conducting any business here, I assume that we could proceed that way. Unless anybody has an objection to that.
I don't.
No,
All right, then we will, so, Council President Breeding.
Present.
All right. Councilman Higgins.
Won't connect to the internet.
Okay, I have, okay, and
He's heading
so,
up to the
Councilman
manager's
Higgins.
office.
Councilman Higgins.
Here. Yeah.
All right, Councilman Kelsey.
Here.
Councilman Parkinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Ross.
here.
Councilman Salcido.
As present via Zoom.
All right. And Mayor Carnes is here, so.
Was Donna here also?
Yes, 100% attendance.
Awesome.
I have the city clerk sitting at a safe distance from me and can hear what is going on. So we have a quorum. The purpose of this meeting is a study session on the marijuana ordinances. There were some questions and concerns that were raised by our attorney, Mr. Canvasser, Jason. So Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you run with it for right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Good evening. You should have received the latest version of the draft licensing ordinance time. It should be fairly close to final, except for one fairly important issue. And that relates to this concept of stacking and the number of licenses. The voters approved 2 marijuana retail establishments, 2 medical marijuana provisioning center establishments. And in doing so, they made it very clear that there should be no more than 2 of each. They also approved 1 marijuana secured transporter establishment, 1 marijuana growing facility establishment, 1 marijuana processing establishment, and 1 marijuana safety compliance facility. So the way the ordinance was drafted envisions a stacking proposal. So if somebody wants, for example, a marijuana retail establishment, they could also grow marijuana and they could process it. They could be vertically integrated if they were approved. The problem becomes and because we're using a lottery system, if we have, let's say, the first winner choose the retail, the grow, and the processing, the second winner choose the same thing, we could only award, as currently drafted, the retail. We couldn't award the grow or the processing. So at that point, we'd have to go to the next in line, or they would have to resubmit all of their plans and drawings, because presumably, if they would have been chosen for all 3, they would have had to have provided plans and drawings for all 3. So that leaves us with a couple options, and the importance of tonight's study session. One of the options is we can remove the stacking ability and just do separate lottery per license. So if you win for retail, that's it. If you win for secured transporter, that's it. If you win for growing, that's it. The other option is to allow as what I would consider a secondary or accessory use, growing and processing in certain limited circumstances. I think that would keep with the intent of the voters. I think that's certainly within our realm of options, as long as we confine it to the general industrial district. But and that would be my recommendation in terms of how to make this easiest and get the applicants probably what they're really truly looking for and meet the intent of the voters. But that's what brings us back here tonight, to try to finalize that language and clean up this issue.
So it's your recommendation that we go to the one where you allow as accessory use the grow facility and stuff for the second person that would win on the lottery, if provided that the first person was going for all of the different licensing. Right?
Correct. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. All right, Leah, we have you on the call. Are you familiar with all of this, and do you have a recommendation that you would like to see as planner here? You're not coming across to me. I'm not hearing you. No.
Leah, try turning on your laptop audio or your phone audio. See if that works. Now I can hear you. There you go.
Sorry, I had headphones on earlier and my microphone was still going to them. Sorry about that. So yes, I am familiar with this issue, and I think it'll come up. I think that there will be at least one applicant that is interested in kind of clustering these businesses. So any resolution seems like a step forward. I think that the proposed solution is a good one. I agree that kind of keeps with the intent of the voters, and especially if we're maintaining these uses within the general industrial district, the impact continues to be limited. And so, so it seems like a way to proceed.
Okay, James Krzan, do you have input on the proposed changes, or how you would like to see it happen, or recommendation, I guess?
Honestly, working with Jason and Leah on this over the last little bit, I would absolutely trust their recommendation. And what we have to remember is based on the fact that this is something that's going to be allowed in the general industrial district only. It's essentially slightly limited just naturally that way. We're not gonna see a lot of these businesses sprouting up all over town because they're frankly not allowed. Even with the limited licenses, we're gonna see, as many as can get in there, and it's still not gonna be a lot. So I would absolutely go with the recommendation. The one thing I will, and I know Jason and I have talked a decent amount about this, but one thing we may want to discuss is the application fee, whether that actually is fully non-refundable, or whether we set it up and structure it slightly different in that the application fee maybe is lower, like $1,000 to cover the cost of doing all the background due diligence, and then the final license fee is something that's $4,000. That way, it makes it a little easier to process when we have, say, a number of these applications coming in for the lottery. it's kind of hard to justify keeping the entire license, what would be essentially the license fee for an application that wouldn't even be able to get licensed because it didn't win the lottery. Granted, there's still the work that has to go in to make sure they're eligible to be in the lottery, and that's why I would suggest potentially structuring it a little bit differently, where the application comes in with an application fee, and then the final licensure would have that final additional fee to make it up to the recommended $5,000 total.
Okay, let's open it up to the council at this point. Who wants to be heard?
Your Honor?
I just have a question. I believe the $5,000 should be per application. If in fact they don't win the lottery, then if we, hold them like above all others in case one of these go out of business or whatever, we could retain it like in an escrow account, or we could, through a council resolution, give them back if they did not win it. But I don't think we should start changing the fees that's allowed under the law. I think they should have to pay the $5,000 per license that they apply for, and they're going to make that back themselves within 6 months. So anyways, that's my take on it. I'm not in favor of changing the actual license fee, and it is a non-refundable fee. I think it's the best way to handle it, in my opinion.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I wasn't recommending changing the actual license fee, just the application fee that would come along with doing the due diligence and then going into the actual lottery. The license fee itself would remain $5,000. It would just be structured a little differently.
You have the potential of having numerous people applying, and for each of the different types of licensing, it would be a $5,000 fee, would it not?
For the license, yes.
Yeah, for the license. And so if we had 30 people or 30 different entities that were applying, each of those would have to put up $5,000 as it stands now as a non-refundable fee. So only we have a limited amount of licenses that are going to be awarded. So there are going to be some folks that put the $5,000 in and will receive absolutely nothing in return other than being able to participate in the lottery. I don't think that is fair, that we should keep the whole amount of the $5,000 for those that are not awarded it.
Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
If I may.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I don't think we should be charged the amount that $5,000 if they're not getting anything in the end, if they don't win the lottery. If they wish, I think we should have a program where if they wish us to hold on to the money in case the winner or the second man can't hold on, then we could do it. But I think it should be, if they ask for the money back, we give the money back, and then they lose their place in line.
Well, there should be a processing fee that goes with that. So I'm more along the lines of what James was suggesting, that $1,000 registration. But open it up to anyone else who want to be heard.
I agree with you. And James is really good for $1,000. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Am I coming through?
No, you are.
Okay, I agree with you and James. I think the $1,000 fee just to come out is good, and the $5,000 if you win the contract. I think that'd be the best way to go about it.
Okay. Anyone else wish to be heard on any part of the ordinance?
I do, through the chair, if I could.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I guess I got a question. Why wouldn't, to get as many people into this process that would be eligible, why aren't we just getting each retail and processing, doing it one at a time? That way you have a potential of having more people to get in the business than just one person doing 2 or 3. What I'm saying is you're spreading the application, the investment process for somebody to get involved more than if you just lump it up or whatever. I don't know what difference that would make, other than the fact it would give more people the opportunity if you let them bid or lottery. Say bid is not the word, but have a lottery for each one of the licenses, because Pampas Drive is limited, but even one of the potential businesses there wants to rezone their property to be able to do marijuana. So it'll still be limited, but why wouldn't we open up to more people? Why would we allow one person to have 2 or 3 licenses? I guess that's my question.
Sure, and if I may address that.
Good.
Yep. What seems to be emerging in the industry is that businesses need to be vertically integrated to be viable. Somebody who has just a processing license isn't is profitable. Somebody who has all 3. The businesses that are really succeeding and doing well are able to grow their own product, process their own product, and then retail it. So, you know, I see it as something that other municipalities are allowing. I think this is the only municipality I've seen where they're limiting one of each license. I've seen some others where the retail are limited and the others are unlimited, which I'm not suggesting occur here. But, you know, to me, it ultimately comes down to a viability factor. And that also goes to the licensing fees, I think, as well as, you know, if somebody if somebody's applying for 3 and ultimately only is allowed to use 1, I think there is some inherent issues there in terms of keeping those fees. You know, I think there should be a non-refundable aspect, especially if people can apply to multiple licenses, just given the amount of time and the amount of paperwork that's going to have to be reviewed to deem an applicant qualified.
Only through the chair to the attorney. The only problem I got is to initiate new businesses. You want to spread the wealth around, and if everybody's making as much money as they claim they are from the marijuana business in whatever aspect they are, it seems to me it would benefit the city to have more independence than less conglomerates or groups of people. Knowing the nature of the business, they would probably interact anyways. I mean, one's going to have to interact with the other to supply them, or whatever retail, however you want to put it. It would put more apples in the barrel as far as people having the opportunity to have a bite at the apple. Now, I don't know what the intent of the position was, but it seemed like me, it was like, we want these, and they didn't say how they wanted them, they just wanted them. And my point of view is this gives the pool of applicants a lot more, because they have a chance to apply for more than one, and the chances are higher that they'll get one of them, hopefully. Where if one gets 2 or 3 at a pool, you're limiting the opportunity, and that doesn't seem to make much sense. And the nature of the business, the way I look at it, in any business, is the fact that it's all going to feed off everybody anyways. I mean, somebody's going to make money on the process, and they might just process for the fact that they give to somebody in the Lincoln Park area, but they can always process for somebody else, as long as it's legal. I mean, it doesn't mean the product stays in Lincoln Park. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And I think that would be a better way of doing it. It gives more opportunity. It doesn't create a limited business opportunity for certain people, and it gives people the opportunity to get into business. And like I said, the natural course of the business over years, I imagine, what do you call it? If you want to call it line or whatever, start out give somebody the opportunity to be in the business and to make some money. And I think those opportunities are very limited. They are available now in the city because we don't have, or if you want to call it, the resources to give out. I mean, that's still my opinion. I mean, that's the way I look at it. As far as the fee is the fee. You know, whatever it costs to process the applicant, I think is fair. The city has to pay for the research, for the time. And as far as the licensing, I guess whatever is set by the state or whatever, I don't have a problem with that. But we need to spread the opportunity more than just one person to have 2 or 3 of the licenses, or 2 or whatever. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. May I address another point there?
Yes, go ahead.
we also have to remember the people who are going to be applying are going to already have been approved, at least pre-qualified by the state, and they're going to have a property interest. So at that point, they're already going to have expended pretty substantial funds into this process. So, this is not a process in general, I think, designed for the mom and pop, I want to jump in the business and hope I win a lottery type applicant. These are the people who've already put a lot of thought and resources into this process. And chances are they probably have at least been looking at other locations or own a building in the general industrial district or have negotiated a lease. So, there's a number of qualifying factors that are going to disqualify a number of those, I think, startup type businesses from the get-go.
Well, the only thing, I think I made my statement. The only thing I'm saying is that if somebody's already pre-hedged their bets, God bless them, but that's not how the lottery works. I mean, that's the whole idea of having a lottery, is that nobody has a drawing yet until you get the lottery. And if I understand right, are you saying that when they apply, they have to have all the drawings and all the specifications for what they're going to do by just applying? They haven't even got a chance to get the license, so that doesn't, if I understand that.
We've removed the site plan approval requirement and put that at the back end through zoning.
Okay.
But they do have to have elevations. They do have to have a concept, a floor plan, a business plan, among a host of other things. So this is more than somebody putting their name in a hat and hoping they get drawn and then doing all the work. They're going to have a concept up front, meet the standards we've specified. And once they've checked all those boxes, then they go into the lottery.
That's why I was surprised, because it's like me saying I buy a car or buy a van, and now I'm going to get a license to transport in your city because I already got the van. I'm ahead of the game. I don't know how that makes sense to me. I mean, it's great if you want to hedge your bets, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the actual lottery. And to say that I would have that sway me doesn't make much sense. I mean, I don't mean it that way, but I do mean it that way. This is supposed to be something where it was to bring business in the city. People wanted it because they wanted to do their own kind of shopping in the city, supposedly. That was the motivation for it. Okay, the motivation also is get new business in the city. If you have 5 new business owners compared to 3, that makes more sense to me. And the fact that somebody already pre-hedged their bets, God bless them, but that's not how the system works. I mean, they did, God love them. But again, my example is me buying a van and then going in and say, oh, I already got the van, so I should be able to, well, wait a minute, I don't even have the contract yet. If I get the contract, and then I come to you and say, hey, I got the contract, I won the lottery, now I'm going to buy a van, and that makes sense to me. Otherwise, I'm betting for sure that I'm going to get something because I got something lined up, or I'm doing something. And I don't know if that's my impression of free enterprise. I mean, and that's what we're talking about, is to give these licenses to people who, whether they're rich or poor, they're entrepreneurs. They will qualify for the process. But I would be kind of miffed if I was, say, $500,000 into the program and I didn't get picked for a lottery, but I already bought the land, I bought the van, I bought this, and I go, hey, what happened? I was in here for 3 and didn't get it. It's kind of, or hey, I got 3, so, because a lottery is not going to say that, well, you got the land, and I'm not saying this to say that, Jason. I'm just saying the way I look at it, because I look at it common sense. I'm not looking to hear a millionaire saying, you know what, this is a good opportunity. I'm loaded up. I'm ready to go. I did this. I got the initiative, and I'm ready to go. Well, that's like loading a boat up. You're already kind of like getting there. Well, wait a minute. You don't actually have the product in your hand yet. And like I said before, I thought that was the indication from the people that had made this or argued about this, or however you want to put it. It was to get more businesses, less ownership, and more individual businesses in the city selling the product that people wanted in the city. And that's where my problem is. I'm not.
Jason, the requirements that we're talking about are mandated by the state, are they not?
Well, the requirements that were mandated are, at some point, yes, they will be mandated by the states. I mean, to use Council Member Kelsey's analogy, I mean, essentially, we're talking about making sure that they have a driver's license before we give them keys to a car. We're asking them, if you want to use that analogy, take it a little further. If they're a truck driver, we want to know what their route is before we load them up with the cargo.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that my credit would be good to buy that truck before I went and applied for it? You see what I'm getting at? In other words, if I don't have I guess what I'm saying, when I go to buy a car, I pick it all out, using your analogy, Jason. But I don't get it, no matter how I love that car or how I talk to that salesman about those options, until my credit goes through. So I don't pre-buy the car. I go in there and say, hey, I want this car. And the salesman goes, that's great. Do you qualify? And then they go through all the process. And then I buy the car. Now, if I don't qualify for that car, he goes, hey, fine, you get an Escort instead of a Lincoln, because that's the way it goes. That's where I'm kind of going with the ability for the fact that, if it's that way, then I misunderstood this whole process. And that's my fault. And then I'll leave that where it's at. I've said my piece, and I'm fine with it. Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Open it up to.
Your Honor, through the chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity here. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say that I like to be able the stacking idea works for me because if we're going to get a business of any kind of business, I want a quality business, and we're much more likely to get a quality business that's going to be there, that's going to take care of them the more they have invested, and if they have the 3 licenses, what they are more invested, they are more likely to be a quality business, and that's what we want. We don't want fly-by-night or somebody who's on the edge. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that there's something in there about people selling their license. We've got to have limits for that. Is there anything in there for that?
There is a prohibition about transferring location. There is a requirement that if they want to transfer the ownership, they have to go through the vetting process, and there's a $2,500 fee to cover the city's time to do that. But there is not a prohibition. If somebody wins the lottery and they subsequently want to sell that entity, because again, we're proving an entity in a business at a location. So, if we have ABC Co. and they want to sell the shares or the membership interest in that, they'd have to, number one, get approved by the state, and number two, get approved by the city and pay a $2,500 vetting fee to make sure that we check their criminal background and the other requirements.
So it's just like putting your thing in to begin with to get approved. So if you sell it, you're going to have to go that way and redo it, correct?
You wouldn't lose your place in the lottery in that sense of having to redo it, but you would have to be vetted to make sure that you meet the city's and the state's qualifications to run the business.
Okay.
And I think it should be froze for 5 years because somebody could just win that and say, well, I get the lottery, who's going to buy it? So I think it should be held for 5 years.
Yeah, the state does not have a requirement that you hold the license for a set amount of time before you resell it. Again, you have to be approved, you got to be vetted, and these businesses are going to cost a lot of money, as they already have throughout the market. So, somebody may use as an opportunity to, better their financial position, I guess, and sell their business, but that would be done with the city and the state's approvals.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Council people we haven't heard from.
Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
Ross.
Go ahead.
So, if I understood correctly, James or Jason, you want to change the application fee to $1,000, and then $5,000 for the license if you win the lottery.
Well, for the first year, it would be $4,000. So $1,000 for the application. The final license fee would be $4,000, and then all renewals would be $5,000.
Okay.
Because we're capped at $5,000.
Okay.
For the license. This just changes the structure in which we would charge the initial one.
So I happen to agree with Councilman Kelsey in having a separate lottery for each type of business, because we're already saving them $4,000 in the application fee. So if they happen to win a second lottery, then they can they not co-locate their businesses at that point? And the money that they saved in the initial application, they can now use to, we can give them time to redo their drawing.
I mean, under that scenario, they would have an elevation and a floor plan limited to that license. I think we would want to remove the stacking requirement because we wouldn't know what stacking looked like at that point.
See, could you, Jason, please explain to me, define stacking for me,
Sure.
and how that's different than the co-location?
No, I think it's the same. I think we're talking about the same thing using different terms. Co-location, they can grow, they can process, they can retail all this within the same building envelope.
Okay. So I don't know. I still say that I think that we'd be better off. The whole lottery is a gamble to begin with. Nothing is a guarantee for any applicant. So I think going a lottery for each category is the best way to go.
Okay, Councilman Salcido, we haven't heard from you.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This is Councilman Salcido. I'd like to remove the stacking, allow secondary. Yes, discussed that already. This was brought to the voters 2 years ago. It's time to move. Also, my question, maybe James can answer this. Is there room in the industrial park? Is there vacant buildings, and is there room to build on the land over there for this business?
I can think of for sure one piece of vacant land. I'm pretty sure there's some open buildings, but we aren't dealing with a whole lot of open empty space.
That's one of my issues. All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
Councilman Salcido touched on something that I forgot to mention. The voters voted for, what is it, six separate types of businesses, with 2 being retail and 2 being provisioning. And that's really all I'm comfortable in giving licenses for. That would be a total of 8 licenses.
Okay. So where we stand, does anybody else want to be heard at this point? Okay. So to move forward on the ordinance, then Mr. Canvasser needs direction from council about which way to proceed. He has put forward his stacking idea, or the idea to have additional licenses, so that if the first 2 people that won the lottery would have the same opportunity. Basically, that's what I think is going on with that. So with that, not without having a vote, but have a general consensus, is this where we want to go, or just we want to go to, the question would be allowing that, or just to not allow stacking, I guess. Would that be our basic decision here, Jason? Hold on just 1 second, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things I need for direction.
Okay,
Number one is a consensus relative to the licensing application fee, whether or not it's $5,000 non-refundable as drafted, or whether or not we have a consensus to do the $1,000 application fee and then the $4,000 licensing fee per license. That would be item number 1 that I just want to make sure we have a consensus on.
Okay.
That was outlined by James. And then the second item is whether or not we are going to stack or co-locate, and whether or not we're going to have separate lotteries per license category, or have the concept of an accessory secondary use with some limited expansion of the growing and processing to account for the situation that I described in my letter.
Okay, well then let's get the licensing aspect out of the way. For the purpose of discussion and going in, because we will be discussing this obviously at a regular meeting when the proposal is brought forward or the ordinance is brought forward. But does everyone feel comfortable with moving forward with the $1,000 registration fee and then the $4,000 fee after that for the people that are awarded it? I mean, everybody.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with
I'm
that.
fine with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay, and I'm
I'm fine.
Through the chair, yep, through the
Yes,
chair, Your Honor, real fast. Yeah, I'm in favor of the $1,000 application fee. However, if they don't make it, I can understand there's fees. They should get some of that money back, though. I'm not sure what amount, but
well, but
okay with the $1,000.
so you know that initially, or the way that it is right now, they would be paying $5,000 with zero amount back. So what our change would be that they would have to pay $1,000 that would cover our processing, all the work that we would have to do, and that would be non-refundable, but they would not have to pay the whole $5,000. That's what we're talking about. So is anybody?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then I think that I'm hearing that we can move forward with that part of it. Now the question comes in is whether we're going to the second part of it. Now I go along with what Mr. Canvasser is recommending, but let's hear from everybody else and see how it proceeds. If there's we can't come to a relative agreement, then we're just going to move forward and hash it out at the time of the meeting, I guess.
I'm for.
I agree with the.
Your Honor, can we clarify what that is, please?
Sure.
Okay.
So why don't I say option A versus option B?
There you go.
Option A would be a separate lottery for every category of licenses with no co-locating or stacking. That would be option A. Option B, which is what I recommended, is allowing co-locating, stacking of the licenses and expanding the number of growing and processing licenses, provided they are not the principal use of the establishment.
Okay. Is everybody on board with that?
I'm not.
What he's describing? What we're talking about?
I guess for the chair, I guess, Jason, my clarification is what you just said in option B, that leaves the licenses as said in the petition. Am I correct or incorrect?
I'm sorry, say that again. I had trouble hearing you.
An option B that you just talked about without going through the whole thing, you said something about expanded licenses or something. What I'm saying in option B, if option B is accepted by the council, then it has the same amount of licenses that are in the petition that was done by the voters, correct or incorrect?
It would have at least that many, but there could be more than one grow in the general industrial district. There could be more than one processor in the general industrial district.
So you would, through the chair, you would actually increase the number of licenses potentially then on option B, am I correct?
Potentially, correct.
Okay.
A no on B. I'm not increasing the amount.
I'm no on B also. I like A.
Well,
I'm a yes on B.
I'm on B.
all right. So let me do a straw poll here. Then, Council President Breeding, is it A or B?
A.
All right. Councilman Salcido?
B.
Okay. Councilwoman Ross,
A.
Councilman Higgins.
B.
All right, Councilman Kelsey.
A.
All right, Councilman Parkinson.
B.
B, and I'm, as I said, am 4B also. So a general consensus would be to proceed with option B. But as again, we're going into when the ordinance would be presented for argument, this discussion can move forward again at that particular time as we look to possibly change it. But to do the finalizing of it is, the general consensus is to move forward with the option B as you described it.
Mr. Mayor, does it make sense for me to draft up versions of both for discussion? Or do you want me to just draft up?
I would, since, to answer, I would say to consider both, put both in. Since we are a divided council as it goes through, then we're going to have this discussion. It's better to be prepared in case one vote goes the other way and stuff, so that we can still move forward with it.
Okay, I will draft both up, and I'll work with James and Leah. We'll get those circulated.
Is that good with everyone, that both versions would be brought up? You'd be able to take a look at it before we make our decision when we go to the first and second reading of the ordinance?
I see no reason to draft A.
I'm good with it.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Your Honor, if I could make a quick comment.
Yes.
Okay, because with option, I guess I want to know why we're looking at stacking doing option B or not doing option B, I'm sorry, not doing option B as a burden to the applicant with the whole having to redo their, what was it? You said they're no longer having to include a site plan with the application.
I'm not looking at it as being a burden to them in doing this. What my thought process with this is that we want to give these organizations the best shot at success. And what I've been told is that the businesses that are successful are the ones that can tie in multiple parts of the licensing to move forward. And that's, we want, I guess, this to be handled business-like and in a professional manner. So that's why I was looking at that way. Mr. Canvasser, you want to jump in, or? If you
No, I'm not sure. I think probably seeing it on paper will be helpful to everybody and seeing the two options. And so we can probably take those. I can make some really quick changes to option A, because that doesn't require a ton of changes to what was already circulated. And then we can deal with option B pretty quickly as well. We're not talking about making major changes in either case to the circulated ordinance.
Well, when we put both options out, then I'm sure that when they're up for discussion, that we would have potential to have the business owners or licensees to be at those, and they can advocate for either of those before we vote, right? That's how I look at it, anyway.
The chair, if I might.
Yes, sir.
This won't hold anything up, right, Jason? I mean, through the chair. In other words, this process is still gonna, that's what I was getting at, so it doesn't, that's what I'm hoping, I don't want it held, that's what I'm getting at. It'll still, even though we have this little bit of not disagreement, but positions, it's still go forward.
Well,
that's what I was asking.
The way that I see it is, after this meeting, we will be moving forward at the next council meeting with this. Is that correct, James?
Yeah, that was my intention.
So, and then we'll be making the decision right there. So there will not be any delay.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, James.
Your Honor, can we get those options in advance?
Yeah, Jason's going to be working on those, and we'll get them to us, the finished product, as soon as you can, right?
Absolutely. When is that next meeting of council?
It'll be in 2 weeks, so I don't, is that be the 17th?
17th.
17th.
All right. So I will aim to have something to you by the end of this week, so you have a full week to review it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So is there anything else from council reference to the marijuana ordinance? Hearing none, then the business, there being no further discussion, the study session will be adjourned at 7:22. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank
you see what happened over at the Crystal Gardens? They were trying to advance the argument that they were a restaurant and they could have more than the limited amount the governor imposed. And then they went ahead and did this when the health department came down on them. How could they be that doggone foolish, you know? Doesn't make sense. Labor Day parade canceled.
Okay, hello everyone. We are at 7:30, which is the time for our meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order at 7:30, which is the August 3rd meeting of the Lincoln Park Mayor and City Council. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, which will be immediately followed by the invocation by Reverend Paula Miller of St. Michael's and All Angels Episcopal Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads as we pray to God, the Great Spirit, to Allah, recalling from whom all our power comes. O gracious Holy One, we ask for blessings to be poured out upon those who gather here tonight to work for the betterment of all who live in our richly diverse city. Let us remember that we are called here together for a purpose greater than ourselves. May each of us use our tongues to speak words of loving truth in every situation. May we use our eyes to look kindly upon all our sisters and brothers. May we use our ears to hear the cries of the needy, and may we use our hands to reach out across walls that may divide us, to recall the real reason we were elected, to enact policies and laws that will bring forth the best in each person you created for their welfare and their growth. Let our duties to others be foremost in our minds as we join in our conversations, respecting our colleagues, to effectively address the needs of our people and especially our children. May we be filled with wisdom and courage, with justice and integrity, and with strength and patience to bring about a deeper sense of community that truly cares for one another. Bless our mayor and each member of the city council. Bless their deliberations and discussions, their disagreements and their decisions. May each know how vital their work is and how important their service is to the city of Lincoln Park. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. We appreciate that. If I could have roll call, please.
Councilpersons Breeding,
Present on the phone.
Higgins. Can't hear Mike, but are you muted, Mike? Councilman Kelsey,
Here on Zoom?
Councilman Parkinson,
Yeah, here.
Councilwoman Ross. You're muted too, Lillian. Here.
Sorry, here.
Councilman Solcito,
Yes, present via Zoom.
Councilman Higgins.
Here on Zoom.
Okay, Mayor Carnes.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. Hope that you are enjoying your summer and that things are going as well as could be if you're enjoying it with this age of social distancing and our COVID-19 situation. The virus is still very much with us. We get